weaponized culture, that they need to decide which side they're on and not serve this evil and continue to leak information out so we know exactly what is in this so-called food. Because in my opinion, in my view, stuff in a porta potty is better for you than the stuff you get at McDonald's. All right, well, that's the analysis and breakdown tonight. We're teleprompter-free news. We go off real research and real history. If McDonald's wants to reform itself, that would be great. But offering grapes, you know, with the Happy Meals isn't going to do it. Not as long as Bill Gates is at the head of their board. As long as Monsanto is involved and Bill Gates are involved, they work for Satan as far as I can tell. All right, I'm Alex Jones signing off for InfoWars Nightly News. And don't forget, if you're watching this transmission, you are the resistance.
Okay, that was Alex Jones from last night's Nightly News. And, of course, that's a victory based on education, not on prohibition. And it was the CDC head, Frieden, who, as Bloomberg's head medical director, was putting prohibition on all kinds of foods and substances in New York. But, of course, he's not going to do anything to control the spread of Ebola, is he, Anthony?
Oh, absolutely not.
Now, we're going to go to our callers, James in Missouri, Earl in Florida. But before we do, I wanted to finish up with what you were telling us just before we went to break about this new research about some compounds that have given mice immunity to Ebola.
Just like the CDC isn't going to tell you how to protect yourself, they're not going to tell you about the studies that date back from 2003, 2010, some recent ones, about natural compounds that your body produces by itself, antibodies. So if you look back to Gabon, Africa, at the outbreak of 1996, there was a 70% mortality rate of those who became infected, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they wanted to look into it, and researchers from the International Center of Medical Research in that area were saying, why are 30% of people perfectly fine? Why are they not getting, why are they dying from this virus? Some not even getting it. Mm-hmm. They obviously found, as we know now, that there are antibodies that are produced by certain people that resist the virus, and how it works is it actually breaks down the cellular walls of the virus and defeats it. Mm-hmm. And it produces its own antibodies that can then detract from the virus and stop its spread. So they were freaking out about this, and this was back in 1996, and there was still a lot of information on virology and how it works, but they couldn't figure it out. So they were saying, you know, why were so many asymptomatic people developing immune response antibodies, IgM and IgB, to the Ebola virus? They also exhibited fewer inflammatory responses in general. So they were getting less sick overall. There was less inflammation in their bodies. And for some reason, they were beating this catastrophic virus that was killing 70% of people. So Harvard looked into it. Some medical centers, the National Cancer Institute looked into it in Maryland. And they found that it all came down to mannose-binding lectins. That's what these compounds are, mannose-binding lectins. And they found that it not only attacked the Ebola virus, but it was attacking infections like HIV, HCV, and SARS. Here's what's really interesting. And if Alex was here right now, he'd get excited and, you know, be really concerned at the same time and upset at the medical establishment. It's really correlated to Ebola and HIV, but it also has to do with pneumonia deeply. And some of Alex's family members died last year of pneumonia. Mm-hmm. If you don't have these mannose-binding lectins, you cannot conquer pneumonia. It is the frontline defense against all of this. And they've known this for years now. Since it came out in 2003, they looked into all this, but real proof came out in 2010 from Harvard, and we're going to get into that. But there's ways, because what happens is if your body's not producing these mannose-binding lectins, there's something wrong. Your gene that is responsible for this is being suppressed, and there's no real research to tell us why that is. The mainstream medical establishment will just say it's genealogical and wipe it off, but even Harvard's interested in finding out. It definitely has to come down to environmental factors, because as it's been said, basically, your genealogy is a loaded gun, but you have to pull the trigger. Yeah. So if you have a susceptibility, let's say, to breast cancer, if you're living in the jungle eating 100% organic fruits and raw food diet, cleanest, purest water, mountain springs, you're probably not going to get breast cancer. Mm-hmm. But if you're eating McDonald's every day, as he was talking about in that video, and you're drinking tap water, and you're going out and just drinking alcohol every night, you're probably going to get breast cancer. Just because you're genealogically susceptible to it doesn't mean you're going to get it. Doesn't mean you have to chop off your breasts like Angelina Jolie and others. So specifically here, though, the key that they found is if you activate your immune system, you will make these antibodies, no matter if you're susceptible to this gene issue or not. So specifically, Mannose-binding lectins, they found, attack the Ebola virus, HIV, HCV, and SARS. They are produced by the human body via a DNA sequence called the MBL2. When our genes are working properly, these lectins flood the bloodstream and scourge disease. They also inhibit virus growth, which is insane. So if all of us sitting in this room right now had enough of these mannose-binding lectins, we would have antibodies to defeat Ebola and we wouldn't die. And we wouldn't even get it in the first place if we had enough of these.
And that's one of the things that really concerns me, because almost all these drugs that we see, the research being pushed by the CDC and the American government, they're all focusing at the genetic level. And so are these things going to actually help us, or in the long run, are they going to hurt our ability to function as an immune system?
Exactly. Our genes are being turned off in every way, from the genetically modified organisms to the radiation. Fukushima devastating us on a daily basis. Is there any wonder why we don't have these antibodies in our own natural immunity anymore?
Wow. Okay, we're going to take your calls right after we come back. Hang with us. We're going to go to James in Missouri, a physician. I know that you're worried about your phone battery. We're going to try to get to you right away. Right after we come back, we'll be taking your calls. Stay with us.
This hour brought to you by InfidelBodyArmor.com. When it hits the fan, don't be left without the body armor that will save your life. With prices starting at just $374.99 and ships free. Get yours at InfidelBodyArmor.com. Just won't quit.
Hi, Ted Anderson with Midas Resources. Is it time to convert paper 401ks and IRAs to solid gold and silver yet? Get our 10 Reasons book free. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
Hey, Boomer! I learned in school today that 60% of our bodies are made of water. Good thing we have the Berkey system. It's the cleanest, best water ever. Mom says it's because the Berkey's filtration system cleans out the bad stuff and leaves only pure, delicious water. I know, right? You love it too. Yeah, I'm thirsty too. Let's go get some. Get Berkey clean water by calling 877-886-3653. That's 877-886-3653. Or visit GoBerkey.com.
The experts are clear. Sunlight, purified water, healthy non-GMO food, and having a good attitude is essential to a healthy immune system. But I go further with Super Nascent Iodine X2 from InfoWarsLife.com. 50% stronger than our original and revolutionary Nascent Iodine formula, coming from a deep earth crystal source that no other supplier has. Most other forms of iodine come from seaweed in areas plagued by Fukushima and other contaminants. Not our iodine. It comes from over 200-million-year-old crystal salt deposits and is tested and proven to be completely pure. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today. See the informational videos. Read the information they're compiled. And for a limited time, when you use promo code NOW at checkout, you get an additional 5% off the entire family of InfoWarsLife.com products. Secure your Survival Shield X2 today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
We all have our own idea about what being safe and secure means. The door's locked, bills are paid, you've got a job that keeps the lights on, and a home to call your own. But what happens when Mother Nature throws a curveball? Are you prepared to live without electricity or passable roads for weeks at a time? Do you even have a plan B? If you do, are you willing to bet your life on it?
Children left with no homes.
And no one's coming to help them.
The first step towards self-reliance in the face of disaster is a visit to MyPatriotSupply.com. There you'll find the absolute best prices on storable foods, non-GMO seeds, emergency water filtration devices, and so much more. All orders over $49 qualify for free shipping in the lower 48 states. Call 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. And speak to one of our preparedness advisors today, or visit us at MyPatriotSupply.com. Remember, before it's time to survive, it's time to prepare.
All right, welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight. We've been talking to Anthony Gucciardi, and he had some breaking news about a Harvard study that was very impressive about mice immunity, and we can come back to that. But I want to get to this physician, James in Missouri. He says gear is being pulled, and he's on a cell phone with a low battery. James, are you still there?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Appreciate you taking my call. I was unable to listen live. I usually listen to podcasts. I had no idea what you guys were talking about. But a couple things I wanted to discuss. I'm a family medicine physician just south of Kansas City in Cass County. And there was the HCA is a company that owns hospitals all around the country, and they own, I think, 4 of the big hospitals in the Kansas City area. And there was a nurse that is a friend of mine that called me today and told me that the HCA had pulled all of their hazmat gear out of all the hospitals that she's verified. She called the other hospitals in the area, pulled all of their gear that would be able to potentially protect people from Ebola, flu, or tuberculosis, or any other illnesses. They pulled everything out of their storage. They have not replaced it with anything yet.
Did they give you a reason?
Yeah, was there any
no
reason? Was this equipment that they'd had before? Was this equipment they had before the Ebola outbreak, or was this something that was added after the Ebola outbreak? Or
well, they did it. What the individual departments had done was send out these little kits, where, in my opinion, are worthless. The N95 mask and goggles, the booties, the gloves, which is inadequate, but at least it was something. But they it includes everything that was there before, plus anything that may have been added since this Ebola outbreak. They have not replaced it. There has been no communication. I specifically asked her, did they give a reason? And the department manager of her department in the ICU at one of the hospitals here told her that they assume that they're going to try to standardize care and make sure everybody has the same thing. But they've pulled everything. They have nothing.
Well, they care about you. They're going to standardize care by taking everything you have to protect against actually infecting everyone in the hospital with Ebola or actually tuberculosis. Right. They obviously care about you.
Absolutely makes no sense. Well, and then a couple other things. Last week, I'm out of residency. I'm a practicing physician, but a friend of mine who is in residency at, I'll go ahead and say the hospital, Research Medical Center in Kansas City, had a potential, this is not the KU case, there's a KU meds near here, but this was another case that they potentially had Ebola, and they came out and the patient basically disappeared. After
this is what we've been told over and over again. Can you confirm, have you heard other stories about this? I've talked to nurses and doctors, and Dr. Group told us they're disappearing people with apparent Ebola cases.
2 weeks ago, before this really started getting, well, actually 3 weeks ago, at Truman Medical Center, there was a patient that disappeared. And it wasn't even, they didn't even turn him into a John Doe, which is a patient, which is a name they give to people that don't have names, that they don't, that may come in unconscious or whatever. There was a patient that came in that was in septic shock, bleeding, typical Ebola symptoms, and they isolated him, moved him to the ICU out of the ER. Patient disappeared. They had a meeting with all the residents and whoever had contact with that patient, and told them that he had malaria, did not have Ebola, which malaria is not a hemorrhagic disease. It's and then I started hearing, I thought, well, maybe my friend was exaggerating, but then you heard about all these other cases around the country where every single time they said, no, they didn't have Ebola, they had malaria. Well, the patient disappeared, and my friend did a little bit of research. They could not find that patient in the hospital. He was gone.
And they don't even do a test. James, after we're done, could you hold on? We want to get your phone number. Because here's the thing, I've talked to physicians time and time again. They all confirm to say the same thing, but they are so afraid to speak on air. So
I don't care anymore. I mean, this is we're talking about people's lives. I mean, the board coming out from whatever. It doesn't matter anymore. We're beyond that.
Thank you, James. Hang on. We're going to get your phone number. We're going to be right back. We're going to take more of your calls in the next segment with Anthony Gucciardi. Stay with us. We're going to go to Earl in Florida right after the break.
This is GCN, the Genesis Communications Radio Network.
The government's Department of Homeland Security is buying up loads of ammo. At the same time, they're restricting civilians' rights to own and purchase firearms. Can you put 2 and 2 together? Infidel Body Armor can stop every round, including hollow points and .308 sniper rounds, is reasonably priced and fully legal. But for how long? Go to InfidelBodyArmor.com, spelled INFIDEL bodyarmor.com. Infidel Body Armor just won't quit.
After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO organic Super Male Vitality formula. Super Male Vitality by InfoWars Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose.
I jump out of bed ready to fight these criminals every day. I look forward to waking up and taking my Super Male Vitality.
Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality and other powerful products from InfoWars Life.